The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by the UMass Amherst School of Public Policy, offering in-person and online graduate programs in public policy and data analytics. Admissions now open at umass.edu/SPP.
Welcome to the Fabulous 413. I'm Khalees Smith.
And I'm Monty Belmonte. Later in the show, Live Music Wednesday with Massamba Diop and Tony Vaca of the Senegal America Project, who will begin a short but intense local tour in the area tomorrow.
Plus, word nerd Emily Brewster pretties up our language with a look at the magical nature of glamour.
But first, tomorrow night in Northampton, you have a chance to be part of one local business's future.
In the place where that business was sparked in Sanctuary.
Our neighbor, Irida Kaktiranova, is a Russian immigrant and mother of 3 children who are all U.S. citizens.
During the first Trump administration, Irida was forced to leave her family and live in Sanctuary at the Unitarian Society of Northampton and Florence between April 2018 and April 2021.
During that time, she was supported by the church and other organizations like the Pioneer Valley Workers Center while fighting her case, eventually leaving safely after her deportation order was stayed. Irida was once again legally on the pathway to citizenship when the second Trump administration began.
Meanwhile, Irida started her own business. She's the owner and founder of Pifrogi Pierogis. It's a tongue twister.
It's fun to say.
Pifrogi Pierogis and more. She needs a better way to take her pierogis on the road.
And tomorrow, Thursday, April 9th at 6:30, there is a benefit for Irida and her Pifrogi to raise money to fix her food truck trailer. The fundraiser is at the church she called home for 3 years, the Unitarian Society in Northampton. And Irida Kaktiranova joins us now.
Hello, everyone. How is everybody doing today?
I'm doing good.
This is great. We always see you on the road and out at your stands wherever
or
they
the
are.
farmers market, running like crazy with a dish of food.
Running out of food, usually.
Running out of
food, usually.
Tell
us about how Pifrogi's doing as a business. Where can we find your Pifrogi Pierogis besides the farmers markets we've seen you at?
So we have a couple of different lines for Pifrogi Pierogi. I sell at the farmers market still. We sell at the farmers markets like Northampton, Belchertown, Greenfield, sometimes in Amherst and in East Hampton. And I also still sell at the grocery stores like River Valley Co-op. I sell at Pekarsky Sausage in South Deerfield, Clarkdale Farm. I added a Cushman Market last year and also Dave's Natural Garden this year.
We were just there.
That's right. And amazing people, amazing people along my road, along the way. So that is the wholesaling side of pierogi, right? And there is also a festival side. And that's where we're going to be needing our trailer because the more we learn about it, the more we see that it is, what would you say, a convenience and bulletproof in a sort of way when you have a trailer and you don't need to rush in the last second and get things, and you're just more stable. And besides, you can just literally pull over on the side of the road and say pierogi, pierogi, pierogi.
Which is kind of the mantra of Pifrogi, right?
Yeah,
Tell us the name,
right.
Where the name comes from.
That's adorable.
Yes, the name comes from my son. When he was little, he couldn't pronounce the word pierogis, and he would say Pifrogi. So whenever it came time to name the business, it just fit.
So you don't have a truck at all right now, correct? Or do you have a van that transports the pierogi, but not one to cook in like a standard food truck?
That's right. For now, we are still operating out of a canopy. That's how we're able to be in some festivals and farmers markets. And the way it works, I literally just come for the day and set up and bring the hot food there that I already have cooked in my commercial kitchen. I bring it to the site, and we're selling our product there out of the steam table, out of a hot food display or whatever, but you can count on that food being made literally an hour or two before it makes it to the stand.
I've been lucky enough to know you since the day, actually, that you went into Sanctuary in the church at the Unitarian Society. I also was lucky enough to be there on the day you were able to come out.
Yeah.
Pifrogi was born in that church as something you were doing that entire time you were living in Sanctuary, and now it's the main pierogi winner, I'll say, instead of breadwinner, I guess,
right,
for your entire family. Can you talk about the church helping to birth your business?
Yes.
The church where there will be a fundraiser for this business.
Of course.
Tomorrow night.
So the church already had a beautiful kitchen. It was just not licensed. It didn't have the small finishing touches. So whenever I was in Sanctuary, what I ended up doing is calling the inspectors, and Northampton has an amazing board of health. They are so helpful. They will go out of their way to help you set set up or tell you what you're lacking or what you need. And that's what happened here. I gave them a call. They came over to the kitchen and they told me how to finish up. Within literally a month, I already commercialized the kitchen, started working on my licensing, like Serve Safe, Allergen Safe, and all of these things while in sanctuary. And of course, you must understand when you can't leave, you need a lot of helpers, right? So at that point, I became the owner that could never leave, right? But I also had to know what to buy, what to get, where to go. So I had feet on the ground, and I would delegate the jobs. Hey, you got to get the potatoes for me, a couple from this farm, a couple of 50-pound bags, or could you please go to Costco or Restaurant Depot and grab me some flour? Because certain items you can't get locally, right? So that's how it all started. And that was all of my church folks. That was the Unitarian Society and the volunteers that I had at the time. The same volunteers worked out a system where they helped me out with that, where I would have shifts at the farmer's market where my 70-year-old, 80-year-old friends would come out to the farmer's market and they would sit there for 2 hours at the time and sell my pierogies. And that's how Cornucopia noticed my business. That's how River Valley Co-op noticed my business. And they ended up reaching out to me to see if they could do a tasting. They came out to do a tasting. Of course, they loved my pierogies.
They're very good.
We've had them. They're very good.
They're very good.
I'm hoping to have them tomorrow night. That's hopefully on the menu.
Well, just for you, but not on the menu.
Okay, all right.
No, everybody else has got to pay. Like, this is a fundraiser.
Oh, I'm happy to pay. I just
If
want
we're
to be
giving the pierogies away,
It's
we're
a
not raising
fundraising
money.
dinner and auction. We're not having your pierogies tomorrow, or what are we having? Do you know?
You're having eggplant parmesan.
Oh,
'Cause
okay.
I
love that too.
My husband and I were very good at cooking. Well, I'm amazing at pierogi. He is amazing at everything else.
Knowing your lane is an important skill to have in life.
Indeed. And we are talking with Irida Kaktiranova behind Pifrogi, the pierogi business, which will be supported tomorrow at the Unitarian Society in Northampton, a fundraising dinner and auction where I guess we're getting eggplant parmesan. There's a sliding scale, and it's an attempt to help Irida start this food truck that she's been working so hard on after birthing this business in sanctuary during the first Trump administration.
How much does a food truck cost?
Well, see, that's the thing. If you're buying a dolled up, brand new food truck, it could go somewhere between $50,000 to $70,000. Easy, easy. Used trucks, it depends on what you have inside, which is what we ended up getting practically nothing inside, or things that are inside need to be replaced or worked on. Those go somewhere between $10,000 to $20,000, and then you have to put time, work, and money into it, and that's how it will go up. So we did get the trailer. My husband already started digging everything out and working on the planning and how and what we would need for it, and we came to a stall where it will require funds. In order to pass the inspections, same inspections, the fire and health inspections, we need certain things, and none of them are cheap, of course.
We mentioned that you had to enter into sanctuary while on the pathway to legal citizenship during the first Trump administration. We've heard so many stories, similar nature, and even worse when it comes to immigration in the second Trump administration. Talk about your personal frustration with doing what you believe are the legal steps to go forward to become a legal member in good standing in this community, and having those being thwarted through no fault of your own.
Well, it is very tricky and complicated, of course, because you don't just have to double check, you have to triple check that you're doing everything legally correct, and because so you don't lose your business, so you don't lose vital projects, and that takes time, and it takes a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of research and development also. And what I like to do myself is I go straight to the inspectors or business owners that know their stuff and they have gone through it, and while they're not immigrants, they know which way to point. How frustrating it is? Well, things like grants, for example. Immigrants don't qualify for grants. While I am qualified and just fine and dandy to pay taxes, I don't qualify to pay to get a grant every time that I need it. However, Governor Healy did put an effort in, I believe, last year, but there was certain qualifications that were changed in Empower Business Grant, which I'm hoping to apply for this year if it comes out, where they say you have to be a resident and a taxpayer, which I am. So
It seems like things are easier on a state level than they are on a federal level to interact with, for sure. Because, as we continually mentioned, like, the federal level is a giant mess, regardless of whether or not you're taking the steps correctly.
And you will always have boo-boos no matter what. You will always have a mistake here and there, and you just got to make sure that before you even start a project, if it fails, do you have a backup? Do you have a solution for that problem if it was to arise? You got to do extra work and extra research.
We also hear a lot of rhetoric about, people coming over illegally and immigrants getting access to all of the things that the U.S. taxpayers are providing for them.
Immigrants do not qualify for any benefits. You cannot apply for SNAP. You cannot apply for welfare. You cannot get any of those things. I mean, even getting a work authorization has gotten so much more difficult in this past year for so many. So how do you work legally? So one of the main options is work for yourself.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing I think people don't think about is you are married to a U.S. citizen.
I am.
You have 3 U.S. citizen children. But can you talk about a few of the hoops that you have to jump through to become, recognized legally by the government here? Like some things that people might not realize that you had to do. Some people think you just marry a U.S. citizen, you're a U.S. citizen. Not that easy.
What happens in life is we kind of get tunneled into what we are into, right? And not all of us do research, and not all of us are willing to do research or even hear it when it's in front of their eyes. That part is difficult, of course, because no, you don't just become automatically a citizen when you get married. You still have to go through a series of things that you got to do, and that's just the way the immigration law is. Could it be changed? I hope so in the future, but right now it is where it is, and a lot of people are suffering from that.
With all of this talk of birthright citizenship and what actually applies, are you at all worried about your kids and their citizenship here should something happen with that?
I mean, I am worried. Not so much for my family. My husband is American. So that right there would take care of my kids. But I am worried and afraid for so many.
More with Irida Kaktiranova as we look at the benefits of a food truck versus a food trailer, the global appeal of dumplings, and more.
And speaking of being global, we'll also hear the percussive duo of Msamba Diop and Tony Vaca, plus word nerd Emily Brewster.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Northeast Solar in Hatfield, offering personalized solar energy solutions and ongoing customer care, proudly serving communities throughout the Pioneer Valley. Northeast-solar.com.
We're speaking with Irida Kaktiranova, who is the founder and purveyor of Pifrogi Pirogis. Irida, you may have seen at some of the farmers markets and festivals in our area, on the road with the Pifrogi Pirogis. If you haven't already seen them on store shelves in our area, there is a fundraising dinner and auction to take her small business to the next level and help to pay for a food truck tomorrow evening at the Unitarian Society of Northampton, 6:30, which is the church which you lived in sanctuary in for 3 years during that first Trump administration.
Is it one of those trucks that is like, it's the whole truck that moves, or is it just the trailer that attaches to like a already existing car that you take around?
Yeah, that part, everybody's kind of confused because everybody kind of assumes that it's instantly a food truck.
Yeah, I hear trailer, I hear food truck. Yeah.
Yes.
Because there's many ways. There's different ways to go about it.
There's a difference because when we started thinking, when my husband and I started thinking about what should we get, truck or trailer, first of all, the pricing is different. One comes with an engine, one doesn't. But also that is the issue. One comes with an engine and one doesn't. The trailer you can hook up to any vehicle, and you don't have to rely if your engine has crapped out, right? Mm-hmm. Where with a food truck that has the engine obviously in it, if something happens, like Thai Chili food truck, she broke down a couple of times on the way to
Supicha.
Some of her events. Yes,
we love Supicha
yes,
as well.
Supi is what we call her. But yes, she has broken down, a few times, and that kind of stalls your whole project at that moment, and you lose thousands of dollars. And what's even worse, you are failing the people that have hired you at the moment. So that's why the idea of the trailer seemed better, and seeing how we have a truck to pull it with, all I need now is like a hitch to put on it, and hopefully learn how to do that.
It's not hard.
If there's one person I'm going to have faith in that's going to figure this out, it's you. I've seen all of the things that you have had to endure over these years. Yeah. You're going to figure this out.
It's not as hard to drive something with a trailer attached as
it's just hard to back it up.
Yeah. No, the hitching part is.
Yeah.
The hitching part can also be a little
tricky.
tricky.
When you got the heavy foot,
you'll be fine.
We mentioned before that you did live in sanctuary in the church in Northampton, and that you were facing a threat of deportation despite the fact being the mother to 3 U.S. children, married to a U.S. citizen. Tell us what it feels like as a human being that's living in a community, that is not committing any crimes, that is just trying to be an upstanding member of society, knowing that there could be a car down the end of your street waiting to pick you up. Can you give us a glimpse into the emotional toil that takes, that it did take on you and it's continuing to take on so many of our other neighbors?
Well, I have an answer for this because I read this before I faced any kind of problems and issues. I read this about 15 years ago about a woman who was an immigrant, and she said, I never stopped looking over my shoulder, even when I got the paperwork and the citizenship. That stays. Mm-hmm. That weight stays. That ugliness of the world, it sticks to your heart, and you carry it throughout your life. But as an immigrant, as most of us immigrants, we have a fire to fight those kind of internal battles, and to overcome fear, and to stay strong no matter what comes your way. Believing in that overcomes many things. It gets hairy and hard and scary. And the hardest thing is to be very excited and optimistic about tomorrow when you know that tomorrow could be taken away. That's the hardest part.
Well, on that note, I'm going to ask, how many types of pierogies do you make?
Well, I did want to stick something else in there too while we're on it, but not pierogies.
No, go for it.
So, my son, Jaden, he is now a senior at Smith Vocational School, and he is a senior in culinary. And he went into culinary because of us doing the business that we are.
That's amazing.
He's very excited, and he now works for a couple of places already, and he's only 18. So
that's great.
I'm very excited, and I feel like that gives fuel into the new generation.
When I used to be at the radio station in Northampton, we would have lunch at Smith Vocational. They have a restaurant there, too. Brian Lapis, 22 News Storm Team meteorologist, loves that place. I've been there. I think every time I've been there, Brian Lapis has been there.
Yeah, he's there a lot.
But do you want to talk about some of the actual flavors of pierogies?
Types of pierogies.
Yes,
Yeah.
flavors of pierogies, because there's so many, and you make a lot, and they're really good.
Yeah.
And also you
do.
make meat pies.
I do make meat pies, and those are
that
popular
are
too.
fantastic.
I love them as well.
Yes. Of course, I do the traditional pierogies that we all know and love. I do the farmer's cheese pierogies. I don't do the sauerkraut, however, I do the cabbage pierogies, and just about all of my friends would replace their sauerkraut pierogies with that. I do the traditional blueberry and farmer's cheese also because we all know during Easter that's what we want to eat. But because of my family traditions and family loving different foods, I have started exploring and like, what else can I put in that, you know? Bacon cheddar being one of the flavors that my kids always choose to eat and love. My husband loves the potato and caramelized onion, and it's interesting how I put that in a pierogi. Potato with caramelized onion alone was a traditional thing for my grandmother to make during the cold months. Summer months, it would be dill and scallions, which is another type of my pierogi.
Love it.
I think it's very fresh and summery, dill, potato, and scallions. And for the winter times, when you don't have as much greens, you know, you do the caramelized onion and potato. So I have about 12 different flavors, and I have weird flavors like just butternut squash. You know, and people love that. It tastes amazing with sage and brown butter. You know, so it's all about, I think Monty's getting hungry.
I am wicked hungry right now. I can literally feel my
He's
stomach.
like moving around like a lizard.
I can feel it. Well, David Chang, the Momofuku chef, had a television show called Ugly Delicious, and one of the episodes was about how the entire world is united by essentially the dumpling, ravioli, pierogi. Like we all, almost pretty much every human tradition has something that is like a pierogi. And so if food can't unite us all as human beings in this world, what can? Maybe
also,
music.
if you don't like dumplings, are you really human?
Right. I hate dumplings.
Because think about it, dumplings everywhere. Oh, come on, Monty.
Just kidding. Can you imagine?
You cannot say that.
I actually have
He has a T-shirt.
The most
I know.
I'm going to say this again on the radio. The thing I'm most famous for in the entire world is when Billie Eilish retweeted a picture of me taken in front of Preservation Hall in New Orleans with my Kung Fu Dumplings Provincetown, Massachusetts t-shirt on that on the back says, I hate dumplings. Just kidding, can you imagine?
Oh my God.
Which is the slogan of Kung Fu Dumplings in P-Town.
Yeah. And I've seen maps of like the dumplings of the world, and it really is the thing that unites humanity, putting things inside of dough and eating them.
Yes.
And that is actually why my husband and I are so excited and motivated and always happy about having the food business, because nothing pleases your heart more than seeing that happy face of a kid or a person that just tried your food, and then they come back and they say, for many, many years my mother has passed, or my grandmother has passed, or my, my jaju, Polish uncle. It's so many people have come up where they have forgotten the taste because life carries you away into a different direction. Once your ancestors pass away, you lose that. You don't always stick to it. And once they try it, I have had people with tears in their eyes come back to me and say, this has brought so much back to me. It fills your heart and it fuels you for the future, and it just kind of flames me up to do more and better.
Irida Kaktiranova, originally from Russia, now our neighbor here in the 413. Have you watched Heated Rivalry?
Why is that familiar? No, I haven't. But why is that familiar?
It's an amazing story.
Is it about the gay person?
It's about the gay hockey player.
It's the gay hockey.
It's awkward.
I think he's trying to see what your opinions about that actor's accent are.
And about the whole story, because there's a lot of LGBTQ stuff, a lot of Russia stuff in there that I think would be interesting to you.
Right. Yes, I was asked by actually RE teacher to watch that movie, and it's just, to me, it's just still awkward. I got to get over that phase, and I would love to watch it, though.
I had to ask that question of my wife. My wife will kill me.
Like, I run the board for UMass hockey during their hockey season, and all during hockey season, everyone's like, have you seen Heated Rivalry? Have you seen Heated Rivalry? I'm like, no, I don't have HBO.
Literally 3 weeks ago, the RE teacher brings it up with me, and she, because my kids went to OWL class, and that was one of the parts of it, and she was telling me how a group of OWL parents were gathered in a room and watch Heated Rivalry together.
It's more than just gay sex. It is such an important television show.
The trailer does, like the very first picture tells you otherwise.
They're selling the sex, but I promise you.
It's HBO, so of course they're selling the sex.
It's not Skinamax.
Yes. But because people are talking about it more and more, I would love to see.
All right, well, I want to watch it with you.
So I will let you know when I do, and we'll have a conversation. I'm like, how the hell am I supposed to sit in a room with all the parents and watch this?
I know. You can watch it privately.
I never blushed.
Irida Kaktiranova is the founder and chef behind the small business of our valley, Pirogii, which you can find her pierogis and more in lots of different stores, at lots of different farmers markets, lots of different festivals. And if you want to help take this small business to the next level, you have an opportunity tomorrow evening at the church where Irida took sanctuary for 3 years, the Unitarian Society of Northampton. It's a fundraiser dinner and auction. There'll be eggplant parm cooked by your husband.
Yes.
And I will be there
I'll
as
be
well.
Helping.
Okay, good. And I'm going to hopefully be able to pick up some of your pierogis there.
Yes, you will.
Thank you so much for sharing your story and your food with us, Irida.
You're welcome. I would love to see you more at the farmers markets.
And in the meantime, get ready to see her at the Tuesday Farmers Market, because that's
next week.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope everybody's excited.
What do you want your world to look
But also
like?
get there early to the Tuesday Market, because she pretty much always sells out.
Indeed. Live Music Wednesday is coming up with Masamba Jope and Tony Vaca, who will perform all over the area this coming week, and especially this Sunday at a benefit for First Congregational Church in Westfield.
But first, a touch of magical language with word nerd Emily Brewster as we examine the alchemy of glamour.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM. Emily Brewster, resident word teacher from Merriam-Webster, our dictionary in Springfield. I went to go see the comedian Nate Bargatze in Worcester over the weekend, he's very funny, but he's most famous for playing George Washington on Saturday Night Live, where he goes over an assessment of how when we are an independent nation, we're going to do things our way, like our own systems of weights and measures and spelling.
But one day, if we are brave, we will get rid of the U and a lot of British words like color and armor. But by God, we will keep the British U in the word glamour.
Only glamour, sir?
Only glamour.
And glamour is what we're here to talk about today.
That's right. Not so much the phenomenon, but thank you for bringing up the spelling of the word, because that is what we are talking about. Not just the spelling, but the word itself, the word glamour.
Glamour.
Now,
Glamour.
but we can start by talking exactly about that spelling. Do you have any guesses about why the word glamour is spelled Glamour, which has that OUR spelling that we see in the British spellings of words like honor and color?
I mean, I generally blame the French for it, but I could be wrong. It seems to often be the French's fault when we do things spelling-wise that don't particularly make a whole lot of sense.
It just
It's
looks
a very sound theory.
It looks more glamorous with the U.
The reason is that the word is relatively new, or relatively newly adopted fully into the language and used especially in literary sources.
So by relatively new, what are we talking?
18th century.
Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
new.
For the English
Yeah.
language?
Yeah, only
For the
about
English
300
name.
years.
Yeah, this word came to my mind because I encountered it in two books in close succession. I'm often reading multiple books at once, and I am reading Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston.
Uh-huh.
And there's a line in the very first chapter, the beautiful chapter where the main character Janie is being awakened as a human who is alert to the magic of springtime, and it's her coming of age. She sees what is usually this normal guy coming up the street, not at all appealing to her, but this time he's appealing to her. She says, "That was before the golden dust of pollen had beglamoured his rags and her eyes."
We were just talking about allergies.
I don't
Right.
think that there's anything glamorous about the pollen attacking our faces.
No, it doesn't sound like a good use of the word glamour in that in that circumstance. It makes a terrible thing sound beautiful.
But it also is being used as a verb, right? So it's not just it means to be glamour. So to even make with glamour, to make more glamorous. Now the other book, and I am reading, I've actually since finished this one, is Beautyland
Uh-huh.
by Marie-Hélène Bertino. It's fantastic. In this one, the main character, Adina, who is she's a child at this point in the book, she is also an alien. She was born the moment that the Voyager 1 left Earth, and she is an alien that was born into a human body. And she lives across the street from one of those towering puppety kind of things that are filled with air, the dancing man.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like outside
Yeah.
a car wash or something like that?
Yes, at her house, in Philadelphia. It's she lives across the street from a car dealership, and so it's there. And she calls him the Flying Man. Mother yells dinner time and everyone will die if chicken gets cold, so Adina forgets Flying Man until the next morning when he lies unglamoured on the lawn.
Ah.
These are two particularly interesting uses of this.
But in
They
keeping with
are.
the way that I tend to think about glamour, which isn't necessarily in the beauty sense, but definitely in the magical realm sort of sense.
Yeah.
And that is the crux of glamour, and that is what I think makes the word so interesting. The word glamour in 1720, it referred to a magic spell.
I just read a
So-
book that uses glamour in this way. It's called The Rise and Fall of Dodo from Neil Stephenson and Nicole Galland, and it blends like historical fiction and fantasy and technology, and it's about the end of magic and what caused the end of magic and the attempt to revive it. And whenever it has been slightly revived, people who can perceive it, the witches, can sense a glamour of where the things have changed because magic is coming back.
It sounds like what he really wanted to do with Baroque Cycle, but didn't quite get to.
I didn't. He Baroque it. That's 2 days in a row.
Now, turning this magic on its head, I want to tell you that the word also ultimately comes from the word grammar.
Oh.
Huh.
So what you do is magic, Emily Brewster. You are so glamorous, being an editor at Merriam-Webster and talking and knowing so much about grammar. Look at the glamour in your
I mean,
grammar.
it is. So, yes.
That's why we have you on every week.
Right, just for the glamour?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this word is such an interesting word. So English had the word grammar since the 14th century.
Okay.
This is the time when people were expanding their learning. The word grammar was used as a term that just referred to the rules of a language, and especially the only language that was studied in any kind of serious way was Latin at the time. So it specifically, grammar, this is with the R, referred to the rules of a language, and especially the Latin language. And it got to English by way of French. But in Old French, they also used this word grammar to mean a book of sorcery,
Mm-hmm.
which is interesting.
Whoa.
But so English got this word grammar, and used it to refer to the rules of the Latin language and to the study of those rules. And then Scots English took the English word grammar and gave it an L and turned it into the word glamour and used that word to refer to a magic spell.
Does that then mean that like grammar is related to grimoire?
What is grimoire?
It's like a book of spells.
Well, and in Wicked, the Grimmery is the book of spells.
What is this chanting? I don't even know what I'm reading.
So they're definitely all playing off of this
The same idea of like grammar and
actual
like
linguistic history of the word grammar and glamour.
Yes, grimoire, to answer your question, yes, Khalees, it does come through French, though, from the same word. It comes ultimately from the same Latin root.
When you think about it, what do we call it when we write the letters for words down?
we call it magic.
No,
Yes.
we call it spelling.
We do.
Because it's magic.
Is that related to it? Is that why we call it spelling?
That is such a good question. I'm looking it up now. All right. The spell, as in a magic spell, comes ultimately from a German word that means talk or tale. And that is also the same as spelling out letters. It probably has more to do with the incantation or the spelling things aloud and saying things aloud as you do for a spell.
So it's more like a spelling bee.
More like a spelling bee. Now, it's a little bit puzzling why Scots English took studying the Latin grammar as a word that should be turned into something that means a magic spell. But if we examine the history of the time a little bit, we can see where it comes from. So this is medieval times, late medieval times. And the only people who are doing any kind of formal learning at all are basically learning in Latin or maybe in Greek, right? They're learning in these foreign languages. And to anyone who is not among that small group of people who have access to this kind of education, what they're learning is completely opaque. Nobody knows. If you're not one of the people in these schools, if you're not one of the people who is being instructed in Latin, you don't know what the subject matter is even.
Mm-hmm.
And so there were rumors that one among the things they were learning, which may have also been partly true, was a little alchemy and some magic.
I mean, who doesn't want to turn iron into gold?
Yes, of course. So even though a lot of these lessons were probably, stultifyingly boring, right? It was just conjugating and learning about Latin cases, there was still this sense that scholars were probably studying some sketchy stuff, including magic. And so there was this kind of distrust of scholars. This is around the same time that you get the story of Faust, who, sold his soul to the devil in exchange for knowledge. So this idea that grammar was actually magical and that this is what was really going on is part of the history of the word glamour.
So what you're saying is if we don't want to offend our God and participate in evil magic doing, we should drop out of school and stop learning, because learning is magic and spelling is spells and magic and grammar is glamour and magic.
That sounds terrible, and it's an awful idea. Knowledge should be shared with everyone.
I think so too, like reading Rainbow.
I can be anything.
So now I'm even more curious how the secondary definition of glamour that I think more people may be familiar with, especially if they don't read genre fiction, and the one that has a magazine title.
Right.
Came about.
Could be like, an exciting and often illusory and romantic attractiveness is one way that we define it. Also, alluring or fascinating attraction.
How do we get to there?
Well, it's only a little bit of an extension in truth, and a few centuries hardly matter when we're talking about semantic development. There is still, I think, a kind of magic implied in true glamour. The most glamorous in a society are a little bit unreachable. They're a little bit set apart. Yeah, they have like a magic something that people are attracted to.
It's not too far a leap that they would be so beautiful that they would be perceived as something beyond and magical.
Right. And I do wonder about the verb glamour, which again, we don't include it in our Merriam-Webster.com dictionary or in Merriam-Webster's 12th collegiate dictionary, but we do include it in the unabridged dictionary And the modern verb meaning is glamorize. So there's an example in here from Raymond Chandler: glamoured up blondes were dime a dozen. God. Anyway,
It's just an example. It's
just an example,
not a judgment
from a well-regarded author. So that, to glamorize, like, oh, I'm going to get all glamored up for the prom or something like that, right? Like we understand that kind of use. But the older sense of the verb is to cast a magic spell upon, to bewitch.
I love it.
That's awesome.
So that meaning is I think a useful one in understanding the development of the noun also. So glamour could be a spell that you cast, and then to be glamored would be to have this spell cast on you, which maybe would then also be that you were enchanted, as one is often enchanted by someone who is particularly glamorous.
It also makes sense with like some of the modern shortening and prefixing of glamour, like glamping. Like you've been bewitched into thinking that camping is fun.
I know. I guess I have been because I've been
fun.
glamping
Or that you're
for
actually
years
camping.
now in a yurt.
Right.
Or glam rock. I mean, is another shortening of that, and that's the idea of like T-Rex and David Bowie and getting the makeup on and potentially being something you may not have always been.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Kind of magical in the way that they put their arrangements together too.
Yeah.
A little tricksy.
Now, there's also a little quotidian element we can introduce here, and that is that the gram, that is the metric unit of mass, like, how many grams of soybeans do you have or whatever. That also comes from the same Greek, was Latin, and then ultimately Greek root that gave us the word grammar and also the word glamour.
So wait, a gram of unit of measurement is like a little bit of magic?
No.
Because one time I did some marijuana and
God.
I was watching an Apple Computers commercial and I was thinking about what you were saying before about Latin and the inaccessibility of the knowledge and how it's magical, and how in the Bible, Adam and Eve eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and that's what kicks them out of the garden, so the knowledge to it. And I was watching an Apple Computer commercial and there was an apple with a bite out of it. And I was like, oh my God, in our pockets, we have the complete access to knowledge of good and evil. And maybe I only had a gram of marijuana and it's all connected, and that's why I don't do drugs.
A whole gram?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I had like half of a bite of like a cookie. Not even like a whole bite. It really affects me poorly. Or maybe amazingly. Maybe it gives me a little extra glamour.
It gives you a little extra magic.
Yeah.
So you can spell better.
But no. The Latin word gramma means a small weight, and it comes from Greek, grammat or gramma, meaning letter, writing, a small weight. That Greek term actually comes from the Greek graphein, Graphein, which means to write, and which is also that common graphy ending that we have in words like lexicography and photography.
Cool.
It sounds all connected to me, Emily Brewster, and I haven't been partaking.
I mean, a lot is connected. You go back to the Greek and a lot of things are connected, but I don't think it has to do with that little gram.
Okay.
Is it connected to gramophone?
Gramophone is actually a trademark.
Oh, wow. All right.
Yeah. So we don't know. I don't have any information about why they chose gramo as the first element of that word.
But records are weighted in gram, like you get a higher grade. Yes. Yeah, I don't know. Again, maybe it just goes round and round in circles like a record, baby.
Round and round. Yes.
Wow. 420 is coming up. Emily Brewster, thank you so much for sharing your glamour of grammar with us each week, and this is a fascinating glimpse into the magic of the English language.
It's truly magical.
I'm happy to share it with you. I hope that people will be inspired by knowing that there is such an important connection between glamour and grammar.
Knowledge and words are magical. And now Live Music Wednesday with the cross-cultural sounds of the Senegal America Project with Masamba Diop and Tony Baca.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM. Welcome back to the Fabulous 413. It's Live Music Wednesday, and with us are the Senegal America Project.
For over 2 decades, Masamba Diop and Tony Vaca have been bringing together the traditions of their music and the peoples of their countries. From their spectacular duo performances to festival appearances with Tony's World Rhythms Ensemble, these two musicians and their remarkable music remind us all of what we already know, that we are all connected.
Massamba Diop, born in northern Senegal, a featured player in Baba Maal's world-famous band, who worked on the Black Panther soundtrack, amongst other things that we were just hearing from right there. And Tony Vaca, who makes his home in Northampton, performed cutting-edge fusion music with the World Rhythms Ensemble. They seem like an unlikely duo that may never have crossed paths until they did.
Their work together has created extraordinary partnerships with schools and nonprofit arts organizations, and together, under the banner of the Senegal America Project, they have embarked on a number of educational and humanitarian efforts, in addition to performing at numerous festivals and stages worldwide.
Beginning tomorrow, the Senegal America Project will perform a Whirlwind Western Mass World Tour at locations all along the Connecticut River, but they join us for Live Music Wednesday right now. Let's start out with a song, Massamba and Tony Vaca.
sama waay ndama ngi ci gàcce ngi lu tax Ibou Ndiaye góoru Fatou si liggéey ndama ngi ci lu tax Abdou Mbengue di bàyyi Massamba Diop ndama ngi ci lu tax sama waay ndama ngi ci gàcce ngi ci lu tax sama waay ndama ngi ci gàcce ngi ci lu tax Africa America sama waay sama waay ndama ngi ci gàcce ngi ci lu tax Tony Vaca sama waay ndama ngi ci gàcce ngi ci lu tax Sénégal Amérique Project ndama ngi ci gàcce ngi ci lu tax
Senegal America Project. Tony Vaca, Massamba Diop. Tony, have a seat over there. Let's chat a little bit. April 10th, Friday, you'll be at the Shea Theater. On Sunday, part of the Westfield on Weekends stuff going on that we were talking about. The Tuesday Morning Music Club concert series, despite being on a Sunday, I believe. Then April 15th and 16th at Westfield State. And then April 17th at De La Luz Soundstage in Holyoke. A world tour around our little small part of the world with this so-called world music that's really just
it's our
music
world together,
all
man.
world into one.
Yeah.
But your first real appearance is tomorrow at a school. Talk about some of the educational stuff that you two do on tour together.
Well, the connection itself is part of a story, and lucky us, it was an accident. Baba Maal comes to Northampton, and Jordy says, "Do you want to open up for the concert?" And so I say, "Yes, of course." Meet Massamba, and we sort of were teaching each other about our worlds, and that made it obvious that if they dared to bring us into a school, there were things to say. So the first lesson is, how about that? How about the two of us together? Masamba, tell them a little bit about, your Senegal and what you do with the students.
Oh yeah, in Senegal, I play much more with Baba Mal in the band, but I don't have enough time to do around in the students like here. But sometimes I have a show in university, high school and middle school and in elementary school. That's why I have a big experience to work with the kids.
Masamba, you are playing a drum under your arm. It's a talking drum. And it was amazing to hear, even though I don't speak the language of the song, I could hear you say your own name. I could hear you say Tony Vaca's name. I could hear you could say Senegal America Project. Talk about the talking you did with the talking drum.
My talking drum, the talking drum is the instrument, a very unique instrument and very important instrument and from Africa, particularly from Senegal. The talking drum, and 200 years ago, I can say 100 years ago, no telephone like this, no communication easy like that. The talking drum make the role of telephone. Everywhere you want to send, the talking drum send the message village to village and talking to your family and be communicate.
What's an easy message you can teach us rhythmically right now? I know that SOS is dun 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 dun. So Morse code is like its own talking drum.
Yeah, we have one song, me and Tony Waka, the song called Ana Salimata. Salimata is the name of the woman. When I'm in my house, I need to call Salimata. I say I wanna say where's Salimata. That time no phone, not text message, no fax machine, not WhatsApp. I take my talking drum and say Ana Salimata. When I hear that Salimata is a neighbor's house, they say, "Oh, my husband calling me."
I think that is amazing.
That's so cool.
My dad just used to yell, "Christopher!" across the whole neighborhood.
I had to
show up. Yeah.
You had the whistle.
It's the same.
But we have a talking drum.
Yeah, yours is just a little
But
bit more
that
elegant.
rhythm
and
is in Black Panther. I mean,
Yeah.
that's connected to, when you see T'Challa, oh, here comes Masamba calling.
Exactly.
Right.
And you see the when you watch the Black Panther, you see the T'Challa. Anytime T'Challa be gonna come in like 1 second, the talking drum say T'Challa like a T'Challa. After T'Challa come in, when 1 second before T'Challa going off, I play again. T'Challa disappear.
And that is you playing it when T'Challa is being called in Black Panther.
Exactly.
It gives me goosebumps.
No, it's so cool. There's a whole alphabet. There's a whole lexicon to it. I love it. It's awesome. Let's outro the show and let them play out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We know that you have abridged your 20-minute long songs for the
We
purpose
have.
of our live radio show. So we're going to say goodbye to our audience, and then we're just going to listen to you until the end of the show is over. Or you can just play for as long as you want. We're just going to be here and soak it all in. So we are speaking with Senegal America Project and Tony Vaca and Masamba Diop. But tomorrow on the Fabulous 413, we'll be talking with guest conductor of the Springfield Symphony Orchestra, Kedrick Armstrong, and president of Springfield Symphony Orchestra, Heather Casey Roberts, to talk about the program Gloria happening at Springfield Symphony Hall on Saturday.
And we'll hear from saxophonist Nick Hempton about bringing jazz to Tanglewood Learning Institute on Friday, April 10th.
Plus our weekly conversation with Congressman Jim McGovern. Got a question? thefab413@nepm.org. We leave you with more live music. Wednesday, Tony Vaca, Masamba Diop, who'll be playing all up and down the Connecticut River Corridor at
Playing
the
at the Shea,
at the First Congregational in Westfield State, De La Luz Soundstage over the course of the next week. Take us home, friends.
All right.
So awesome!
Keep going if you want. So great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks as always.